Hello and welcome back. We're going to do a video over section 3, and this is a section called translations. And before we get into what, the objectives and all that, a translation is merely just a slide. Okay, and so we're going to do is develop a definition of a translation using constructions. We're going to be able to write rules that describe a given translation, and we're going to determine the image or preimage of a figure given a translation. Okay, so before we do anything, what I want to do is upload that picture again of me with my KC hat. Okay, so here's that image of me with my KC hat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this picture here, and this is my pre-image. Okay, and you guys don't need to write this down, I'll just watch for a second. This is my pre-image, and we're going to translate this over, okay? And so watch what I do. All right, and so I'm really just going to duplicate this picture here, and I'm going to move it down over here, okay? And this is what I'm going to call my image. Now, what I want to do is I want to connect a line from this point on my hat over to this same corresponding point, okay? And I'm going to connect those with a line. Okay, and what you see with that line here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that line and connect my my right eyeball, my left, your right, or never mind, my right eyeball, and connect those. And what I'm going to notice about that is that the distance from here to here is going to be the same as the distance from here to here. So if I copy this line here, if I duplicate it, all right, and then if I move it down, what I notice is that I get the same thing, okay? And the cool thing about this is that these lines, not only are they congruent to each other, but they're parallel. All right, and so that would work with any single, any line that we drew that goes to its corresponding point. Like if I were to draw, say, a point from this tooth here to the same corresponding tooth, then what I would do, and let me just click on this guy again, and let me duplicate it, all right, and if I were to move this line over here, what we know is that they line up with each other, okay? So again, this line would be congruent to the others and would be parallel. Okay, so kind of a cool thing that you can do with this, and that happens anytime that you move something or slide from one pre-image to the image, all right? Okay, now let's go back and kind of talk about this. And so what I have is a translation is a rigid transformation or isometric transformation that moves every point of the pre-image, okay, your pre-image, of an object the same distance and direction to create the image. Okay, and so, what that means is that if we were to come here and, draw a line from point A to A prime, okay, that's going to be the same distance going from D to D prime. All right, these are going to be congruent. Same thing from C to C prime, that would be congruent, and then B prime to B will also be congruent, okay? And all of these lines are going to be parallel. So what I've done is I've just simply taken all of these points, from here, and I have moved them in the same direction and the same distance to get my new piece, all right? And that's what we're doing. Okay, now the other thing is that, when we talk about something called a rigid transformation, okay, that means that it's going to preserve a lot of things, all right? And so that's going to be down here. So translations preserve, okay, and preserve means that things stay the same, okay? Things don't change, all right? And the things that we preserve, the things that don't change are angle measures, okay, lengths, the shape, the size, and the orientation. The only thing that does change, okay, so the only thing that changes here is the location. And that's it, okay? All right, so let's take a look at what this looks like for a certain type of problem. So if we wanted to write a rule for a translation, what that's going to look like, okay, on a coordinate plane, you can represent a translation by a function that takes an input, x, y, and maps it to an output, x plus a, comma, y plus b, where a is the number of units that's translated horizontally, and b is the number of units translated vertically. All right, so we write this function rule, translation AB of xy, and the rule is mapping this. Xy becomes this. So let's do this. Let's write this rule out. T of A, comma, B of xy, okay, and that translation would map over here to x plus A, comma, y plus B. All right, and so let's talk about what this would look like here. Okay, so to go from, say, from like point L to L prime, what you would do is you would move from L to L prime, you would move vertically, okay, and then we would move horizontally to get that point. Okay, same thing with n and n prime. With n, I'd go down to here, move vertically, and then I would move horizontally. All right, same thing would happen with point m to m prime, okay, and we would just connect all those different points, okay. And so your value that you move horizontally is your A value, okay? And the value that you move vertically is your B value. All right, so let's look at an example of what this would look like. And so it says that, what is the image of triangle JKL after the transformation xy maps to x minus 5, y plus 4? And what this means, when I see this, is that this part here, x minus 5, okay, this means that I'm going to move 5 units to the left, okay, because we have a negative 5, all right? And then this means here that we're going to move 4 units up, okay? So what I want to do to create this new image is to go 5 units left and 4 units up. So I'm going to count over here from this point J, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've moved 5 units left, and we're going to move 4 units up. Okay, and we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and connect those. All right, and make a new point here, and we're going to call that J prime. Okay, same thing with L. Okay, I'm going to move that 5 units to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we're going to move that 4 units up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to mark my value there. Okay, and I kind of like to make this look like I'm moving this 5 units over. Okay, and this is going to be L prime. Okay, and then for K, for this point here, I'm going to move it 5 units left, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we're going to move that 5 units up, so 1, 2, 3, or 4 units up, sorry. All right, and that's going to give us this point here, which we'll color in here, and that's going to give me K prime, okay? And then, okay, what I'm going to do, so that's looking at that graphically, all right, and that's what's happening. All right, now what I want to do is let's write out all the points for JKL, okay? So J, K, and L. Point J is the point 2, 1, okay? K is the point 5, 0, and L is the point 2, negative 1. Okay. Now, once I translate this, okay, once we get our new points for J prime, K prime, and L prime, what I want to do is see what those are, okay? And so those would be, what's that? J prime is negative 3, 5, okay? So J prime is negative 3, 5. K prime is going to be 1, 4, okay? That's 1, 4. And then L prime is going to be negative 3, 3, okay? And so what you have to think about here is going from this point to this point, what am I doing to get from 2 to negative 5? Well, what I'm doing is we're going to subtract 5, okay? So minus 5. And then to go from 1 to 5, we're going to add 4, all right? So if we do that up here, sorry, and this should be the point 6, 0, not 5, 0, okay? And so the same thing, okay? If we subtract 5 from that and then add 4 to this value, it gives me 1 and 4 respectively, okay? Same thing here, negative 3 and 5 respectively, all right? If I were to do the same and subtract 5 from 2, okay, that would give me negative 3. Okay, if I take negative 1 and add 4 to it, it's going to give me a positive 3, all right? And so that's what we're doing, all right? So now, let's take a look at this question. It says, what is the y-coordinate of point D after the translation of x plus 6, all right, and that's my x plus 6, and y minus 4. All right, so point D, let's just kind of locate that point. And that's going to be the point, what is that? Negative 2.5. So negative 2.5, comma 5. All right. And so if we were to translate this, this means that we would go, up 6 and to the left 4, but, that's going to be way off the graph. All right. So this is one of those where we're going to have to just use those points. Okay, so what we're going to do, all right, my point for point D is the point negative 2.5, comma 5, all right? And to get my new point for D prime, then what I'm going to do is just add 6 to the x value. Okay, so I've got negative 2.5. I'm going to add 6 to that, comma, and let's do the point 5 and then minus 4, okay? So, all right, so we're going to go, actually, no, that wouldn't do that. All right, so, I'm sorry, no, that's what we're going to do. The graph over here, we're going to move it to the right 6 and then down 4. So the triangle would be over here. It would be on the graph. But let's just go ahead and do it this way. And so D prime is going to end up giving us, what is that? 6 minus 2.5 is going to give us a positive 3.5. Okay, and then 5 minus 4 is going to give us 1. All right, so here's my new x value, here's my new y value. Now the question was, it says, what was the y coordinate of point D after a translation of this, okay? And so we want to find the y coordinate of D prime, and so the value is that y would equal 1 on the point D prime, all right? And that's what we're looking for, all right? Okay, let's take a look at the next page. Okay, so on this one, it wants us to write the rule. Okay, what rule describes the translation from the pre-image to the image? Okay, so here's what I want to do. All right, let's just look at from point Q. Okay, that's on my image, or my pre-image. And then my translated point is Q prime on my image. Okay, and so what I want to know is I'm moving certain units to the right and then certain number of units up. Okay, in the units that we're moving to the right, okay, Q is the point negative 1, 4, negative 1, comma 4, and then Q prime is the point 1, comma 5. Okay, and so, what I'm doing is I'm moving 2 units right, okay, and then 1 unit up. Okay, and so what I'd want to do is I'd want to take, okay, if I take translation, all right, T means translation, and we're going to put, these are all of the form, let me write out the form again, AB, and this is of x, comma y, and this turns into x plus a, comma y plus b. Okay, so a, remember, is your horizontal movement. All right, horizontal, and b is your vertical. All right, and so what I'd want to do for this example is I would say, all right, I've got a translation of 2, comma 1, meaning that I would take the point x, comma y, and the translation of this would become x plus 2, comma y plus 1. Okay, and what this means is that I'm moving 2 units right, and this is 1 unit up. Okay, and that's it. All right, so that's how we would look at that and be able to write this. All right, so this is our answer. This is what we're looking for. Okay, okay. On this one, we want to choose and say, okay, well, which rule describes this translation? All right, so to go from point B to point B prime, okay, what I'd want to do is I'd want to think of my horizontal movement. All right, so I would move to the right 3 units, so 3 units right. Okay, and then this is going to be 2 units down. 2 units down. Okay, and so because of that, I want to think, all right, I'm having a translation. Okay, 3 units to the right means that 3 is going to be positive. And then if I move 2 units down, that means that my y value here, my b value, is going to be negative. All right, and we would do that on every point x, comma y. All right, and so that's going to be this answer here to help us locate what that is. Okay, okay. On this one, it says, what is the preimage of the figure if the rule that created the image is t negative 7.5 and negative 4.1. Okay, so here's what we've got. Okay, this means that for the image, okay, this means that we moved negative 7.5 units left. Okay, and this means that we moved negative 4.1 units down. So let's do 4.1 units down. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of this negative here. We don't need that. Okay, so this is a little bit different. Okay, because this here is the result from a transformation, from translating. Okay, from translating. So it's important that we kind of think about this backwards. Okay, so what we're looking for is we're looking for the pre-image of this figure created. So because what I did is we said, okay, this moved, so we had an original figure that we moved 7.5 units left and then 4.1 units down. So what I have to do if I'm finding the pre-image, okay, so I'm going to write this. If you are finding the pre-image, then you must go backwards. Okay, and do that. So what I'm going to do is this, okay? So to go backwards, okay, I have to look at my rule, and because I went 7.5 units left, that means that I need to go 7.5 units right on each of these. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So this has a value of negative 3 here, all right, this point here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half, okay? Here I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half, okay? Same thing here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half, all right? And that's going to kind of get me my points here. Okay, and then because I went 4.1 units down, to go backwards I need to go 4.1 units up. And so this is 1, 2, 3, 4.1, was right there. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4.1 units there. 1, 2, 3, 4.1 units there. All right, so I'm going to plot these new points, and these would be my original points for J, K, and L. So J, K, and L. All right, so we had to go backwards. Now here's what we've got. To go from point J to J prime, we go down 4.1 units, and then left 7.5 units. Okay, and it gives us those points. All right, so we got to work backwards on those. All right, on this last one, okay, it says the image of a figure is shown. So this is the result of translating. What are the coordinates of x, the pre-image of the figure, if the rule that created the image was t is negative 5.2 and 1.4? Okay, and so here's what we've got, and this is a little bit tricky. So let's take a look here. X prime, let's think about this point here. All right, this means that this is the point negative 2, 2. All right, now to get this figure, we had to go left 5.2. All right, so let's write that this means we went left 5.2, and this means that we went up 1.4. Okay, up 1.4. Now remember, if we're finding the pre-image, okay, so because we're finding the pre-image, we need to go backwards. All right, and so here's what I've got. The pre-image, all right, so now let's do this. So I want to go backwards. So I want to go right 5.2 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.2. Okay, and then we want to go, since we went up 1.4, we want to go down 1.4 because we're going backwards. So 1.4, and that's going to be right here. So x is going to be over here, all right? Now what I have, because I want to go backwards, if I go x prime, okay, of this point, which was negative 2, 2, to go backwards, all right, on my rule, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then take negative 2 and I'm going to add 5.2 to that, all right? And then I'm going to take 2 and then I'm going to subtract 1.4 from that. All right, so negative 2 plus 5.2, that's going to give me the value of 3.2. And then 2 minus 1.4 is just going to give me 0.6. So hopefully that point is pretty similarly located to 3.2 and then 0.6. So it looks pretty decent. All right. So hopefully this wasn't too terrible for you. I think these are really fun. I think they're pretty easy. But, you know, just got to make sure that you're going to know which one you're looking for and going in the right direction. So if you've got any questions, let me know. Hopefully, and we'll see you soon. Okay. See you. Bye.